Welcome back to the Bumper Breakfast. We're still here. It's the last lap, and today we're talking about bullying. Who is bullying me at the moment? Who is bullying who on social media? Who is bullying who in the workplace? Everywhere we go, we find bullies in the home, in the school, in the workplace, in the car, in the public bus, even in the market. People bully people. And I'm always wondering, how did it all start? So yes, Auntie Wemi is back here this morning. Wemi Mo, they say, I love her. I don't, I'm apologetic about it. Auntie Wemi is back here in the studio with us this morning. Wemi Mo Adebi, our cognitive behavior therapist. If you're watching live on Facebook or Instagram, you may not be able to see her face, but I showed you her face earlier on the show. And Auntie Wemi, good morning.
Good morning.
I know you were harassed this morning. No powder, nothing, only lipstick. I know what is happening.
But even at that, I'm still slaying. Come on.
You see, the meaning you're wearing self is slaying. Even is Santa Claus in your house?
I'm feeling the vibe already.
I'm feeling vibes and vibes.
Yes.
I'm feeling down.
I don't want anything to cut down on my vibes.
On your vibes?
I want to keep it at that pace.
I'm trying to catch vibes from you this morning. Trust me, I'm not feeling it. And I have a pharmacist here, Ikonaba Humphrey Julius. He's been on the Bumper Breakfast show to share a story about with us before. Good morning, Julius. How are you doing today? All right, let's talk. It's all about drug abuse and it's all about bullying. Now, before I do the link, Auntie Wemi, how do we identify bullying tendencies in our children? Do children actually carry this bullying tendency from pregnancy, or do they just acquire it from the society or from the home?
Okay, thank you very much. No child was born being a bully. Every child was born plain.
Okay.
Okay, the tendency and maybe the behavior was learned. And a child who already has a temperament in the area of being a very assertive one,
Okay.
if grows in an aggressive environment, could develop into becoming a bully.
Okay.
Because we have children who are very assertive personalities, we have children who are very bold, and then have it done my way children. They were born that way, actually.
They were born that way.
Yeah.
That's the way they were
if
born.
If I'm going to categorize it in psychology, the way we say it, we say they are cholerics.
Okay.
A male or female.
Okay.
But if the tendency...
I'm not a bully.
Okay, no problem. If the child now grows in an environment that's seen towards aggression, towards violence, towards not being empathetic, then the bullying tendency will become full-fledged, basically. So I'll say that no child was born or is born a bully.
Some children are born assertive.
Yes.
Okay?
Naturally.
No child was born a bully.
And this thing that we call bullying, aggression is what gives rise to it. Is what gives rise to it.
Okay.
Okay. And when I was doing my research, I could see that this thing we call aggression is categorized into two segments. Yeah. We have the proactive and the reactive aggression.
Okay.
Okay. The proactive are the ones who they are premeditated. They are like, this is what I'm going to do, is organized. Okay, and they do it repeatedly. Those are the ones you go categorize as bully. Okay. But the reactive are the ones who do it to defend themselves. Whether over time they've been bullied and they just also develop that mechanism of being defensive. All right. So when you are dealing with a child in the area of aggression, you need to know, have you always, or did you develop this to cope in the bid to escape being bullied? However, we need to understand that children bully themselves, and then children are beginning to bully their parents too.
True.
Because they created an environment for it, basically.
So create an environment for bullying, and then the child begins to bully.
Yeah, and then let me add that most times bullying can be associated with serious emotional problems. Yes, serious emotional problems. Children, they throw tantrums
Okay.
at whatever developmental stage.
Okay.
So you need to know what you're dealing with. However, a child who has been known repeatedly, if you know it's a pattern, you know, bullying is a repeated action,
Yes.
aggressive action.
Yes.
And then you've seen it attached to a pattern, then it's a display of an emotional problem.
Okay.
Really.
Okay.
So, and then all of this could link to delinquent behaviors, which I'm sure he will have to come in that. Delinquent behaviors where they become aggressive, they become destructive, they hit other children, they fight, and they get to the point where they actually look for ways to get rid of people, and they go about
Because
it in different ways.
Coming to that point where you just landed, there is a woman, a young lady, who told me the story of her aunt. The woman was married to a man who
Okay.
had a widow who had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. The boy is the first child. Now, the woman moved out of the husband's house
Okay.
in Rivers State and moved to Enugu State. Why? The son bullies the wife. It had gotten to the point where threatens to stab the woman, slaps his father's wife. It's like slaps her, you know, gets all violent, and suddenly begins to hold maybe a turner, begins to hold a knife, you know. She got to the point where she felt her life was threatened and she had to move out of her house. So she moved to her husband's house in another state. The husband now became a visiting husband because the boy was still actively at home at that point in time. He was in secondary school going to the university. When he got to the university, he was still in Rivers. So there was no way she could be present in the house. All the girls in the house had to go to boarding school because this one child was a bully. So the only person in the house apparently doesn't bully is the father. My question was the father violent? They said no. So, you know, is it possible that a child would develop a strange tendency like that, even though the parents are not? Psychologically, is it possible?
You know, I said earlier that fundamentally, bullying is a language of an emotional problem. So if you dig deeper, you would discover that something went wrong with him, sort of. And the truth is, from my experience and the work with children, I discovered that they want to be assertive because they felt rejected at some point,
Okay.
or they felt, you know, there was a gap in between, maybe rejection, maybe they were maltreated and all, and because there's something in them also, you know, the environment popped it up, and the room for expression, you know, gave rise to it.
So you're saying that irrespective of what happens, if a child is emotionally troubled,
Yeah.
damaged, it's likely to manifest in various
Yeah.
ways, and which comes to the issue of drugs.
Yeah.
If a child is emotionally, from your perspective, let me say from your experience now, what would you say that guy, that young man I just described, what would you say he's going through?
Well, from my own perspective and from my field, being a pharmacist, the very first diagnosis I would recommend is we should check if it's not into drugs, because that's the very first thing, you know, that would give you the confidence and such, you know, before you can bring out a knife, you know, to stab, and then you know there's a law to the land. So it's just drugs that would make you feel on top of the world, and then be like nothing would happen. Even if the police comes into play, you would stab them, because it's actually something that happened to me during my own time. This is a Makai and police, Ilaso State Division. I stabbed myself because if you're into drugs, you will not feel pains. Because these drugs, then this cocaine and cracks, they are real poisons. You know, the doctors make use of cocaine for cesarean sections. You cut off your body and then you wouldn't know. So at that point, it's drugs really that would make you, you know, confront others, knowing fully well that you could be caught in the act. So it's actually drugs.
So that's like, yeah, it happens, and then you're totally absent-minded.
Yes, because
Is there
drugs-
remorse after the action? Is there usually
no
remorse?
remorse, because drugs would make you lose your senses, senses of touch, senses of smell. That's the reason why most people are addicts. You see them, they look unkempt because they no longer, they wouldn't even take their bath. Like, if, I'm using myself as an example. For weeks, you might go weeks without having your bath. Your hair will start growing dreadlocks, like. So you've
You
lost
just feel like,
you've lost all the senses. That's it. Because that's what drugs do to you. Drugs are poisons. Drugs are poisons. Most especially like cocaine and crack. Your tissues will become dead. You not feel any pain. So addicts are actually walking dead. They are walking dead. So that's what drugs really,
do to
do
people.
to people.
And so when a child now becomes a bully and grows into an adult, it gets to this point. It's likely susceptible to getting to this point.
Yes.
If not properly managed. And then if there is no knowledgeable adult around that child to discover that if you continue this way, you're likely going to get to the next level where he is describing right now.
Yeah.
Now, the truth is, for those who have become very strong bullies, okay, they will need something, like he has said, drug, all right, to fortify their feelings. Because the truth is, a child who become, or how do I put it, who chose to bully others is trying to make a statement. Now, when it gets to a certain stage, he will need something stronger to make a higher statement where he would be able to confront anything,
Higher authority and
anybody.
power.
And they don't get to that point immediately. Okay? Now, if you're looking for these signs, a child who begins to shun others in the bid to dominate, to control other people's, to control his or her environment. There is a difference. Like I said, some children are born to be naturally assertive. There is no problem with that. Some, they are just strong-willed. Every personality and temperament we carry is good as far as it's fashioned around who we are meant to be. But some use it to bring down others. All right? They want to dominate other people. They always want to be the one to be heard. Okay? And then when you don't give them room, they withdraw. And those are the ones who use emotion to bully others. So they withdraw, they withdraw everything, maybe communication, maybe the attention you give, you get from them. Okay, and then you have some who believe that they are always right. Their opinion is what must. And how do you identify this in a child? In children, all right, they always cry out their lungs till you satisfy them.
So if you have a child that is always crying until he or she
till
has
you
a way,
satisfy them. And if a child is able to get you to the point where they cry to get your attention, then they are going to do it as a weapon. I tell parents, I say, a child can never cry and die. Let that child cry. When he cries, throws the tantrums and sees that this is not working, then you have disarmed that tendency. Then you move to the next one. You know the next thing you're dealing with. But the moment it works, if it works with you as a parent, the child is going to extend it to the teacher. The child is going to extend it to the mates. And then once the wings are fully grown, then you begin to use it
everywhere in the society.
And when they get to a point where they've developed that tendency and somebody somewhere identifies and tries to clip it, then they go to drugs. They want to fortify it, like, no, I've always been this way, and then there's nobody who can stop me. And they always blame people for their wrongdoings. They were never wrong.
They're the ones that are always right.
Always right.
So you have a child who is always crying, and whenever the child is crying, "Mommy, I want," and you say, "Until I give him, he's not going to allow me to rest. Let me just give him this thing so that I would have rest."
So they take it to
so you're doing more damage to that child. So for every parent listening this morning and you're just confused, you're wondering, you're asking yourself, how do I put an end to this? You said let him cry. Let her cry. Crying does not kill a child.
It will not.
Peradventure, a parent has been indulging such child for a while, and the child has now grown out of proportion. Let me begin with you. The person is still a child, is grown out of proportion, is gotten used to bullying the parent into doing whatever he or she wants. What do they do? Is there professional help they can seek?
Yeah, there are professional help. Like if you those are just the behavioral signs. But for them, they will understand. Is it what you call it in your line? We call it the behavioral sign. You call it the medical clinical signs to look out for, because they are both, intertwined. You can't separate the behavioral signs from the clinical signs, actually. Yeah, so it's simply a sense of entitlement. Once you discover that the child has a sense of entitlement, I must have my way. I must have it done the way I want. And when they get to a point, they can't have it done, they look for something
To do it.
to do with it. And
Something
that's
to
where
compel you
they come
to
in.
do it. And then when a child now gets to the point where you begin to see that your child is a bully, and I think most parents, know that, right? They do know.
Yeah, they do.
And they know that this child is a bully. What next do they do?
Well, okay.
To prevent that child from getting to empower himself now with the drugs.
Okay, am I speaking from when the bully is already into drugs, or?
Feel free.
Okay.
You take the choice.
Well, I'll start by saying, addiction is both psychological and medical disease. So you've actually handled the psychological part, and then for the medical part, I just left Star FM, and then I've already discussed with the chairman, CEO, NDLEA, that's retired Buba Marwa, and then also my professors. Well, rehabilitation centers, they failed us, really, speaking as a pharmacist. And the reason why they've really failed to help victims of drug abuse, not just in Nigeria, worldwide, is because when I was abusing cocaine and cracks, I needed to sleep as well, because cocaine will not make you sleep. And then that's when I indulged into antipsychotic drugs. Those are the medications that were being used in rehabilitation centers, like your risperidone, your benzodiazepines, your Refnos. Those are the antipsychotics. So then I was used to abusing 1,000 milligrams a day. 1,000 up to, no, that's what addicts do. We know these drugs. There are no such things called prescription drugs. Those prescription drugs are just for the learned, like, oh, I need a doctor to sign, but these drugs are in the streets. So all the drugs being used in rehabilitation centers, so we abuse 1,000 milligrams, 2,000 milligrams. Then when we now get to rehabilitation centers, they now give us the same drugs in lower quantity, like 20 milligram, 50 milligram. So, and then we would
No wonder you say they are not working.
Yeah, it's called therapeutic failure in our field. And then we look into the doctor's eyes or the nurses and then tell them, these drugs are not working, like I still feel as I feel like. And then the only advice doctors would give to us is, if you don't cooperate, you'll be here for the next 6 months. That's what they say. If you don't feel fine, you still be here. And then the addict would have no other choice but to play, I'm fine.
So,
And as
Are
soon
you
as
kidding me
that's
right
what I
now?
did, that's what all addicts do.
So
Like,
in
I'm
the
fine.
rehabilitation center,
Yes.
the doctors tell you,
Yes, now that's
You
what
want to go?
that's what yes now.
Pretend.
No, they will not say pretend. You use your head.
Yeah.
They will not say pretend, but if you are not fine, you still be here, because you ask how long do I have to be here? They'll tell you if you are fine, you'll be here probably 3 months, 1 month. But if you are not fine, you are here forever. So you too, you'd have to play along, because that's one thing about it. And then as soon as they come out of rehabilitation center, they relapse, because that drugs is still inside them. This is not just Nigeria case. Even in USA, all the addicts are packed in Philadelphia, if you know what I'm trying to say. But in my own case, I passed through 2 rehabilitation centers, and then I went back. But the only thing that helped me out was making use of traditional medicine. Just like, you understand what I'm trying to say. And then that's what I've been talking about, like,
trad medical help.
Yes, the traditional
Herbs.
medical, herbs. It's
So
out
you're
there.
saying that our local herbs
Yes,
are much more effective
very, very,
as a pharmacist
very, very.
than the
Orthodox.
so
Yeah.
Because the orthodox medicine is actually what they abused in the
It's
first
what they
place.
abuse in a very, very large
Scale.
quantity.
So how exactly do you expect what they abuse to work
Yes.
for them? Oh my.
So that's the new topic we are on right now. So it's way beyond prevention is better than cure. Right now, let's leave the prevention is better than cure.
It has
Let's
happened.
look
It
for
has
the
happened.
cure,
The solution, then
the
the solution is on
solution.
ground. Now let's come together
And get the solution.
to work towards it.
We've been talking to pharmacist Ekonaba, Humphrey Julius, and our dear Auntie Wemi. We need to keep talking about this because a lot of kids are going through this, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
And I hope that as we do parental learning, don't forget you can send us your messages, a selfie picture, and we definitely get to show them on the show. And don't forget to nominate the head girl of the school that you attend, senior girl, senior prefect girl, for the Bumper Breakfast Senior Girl Prize. Make sure you nominate somebody and name the name of your school, and we definitely get to give her a gift come next week. So I'm waiting for those messages to come in. 08064738133 is the number to send it to. Auntie Wemi, thank you so much for being here this morning. Julius, it's always a pleasure. I'll see you tomorrow bright and early on the Bumper Breakfast. Have a beautiful and lovely day.